Hey, I'm gonna go through the new website and we can discuss any changes that you might have for it. I used a lot of the design cues and things from the other ones, so the color is similar in a lot of ways. Um, I did have a couple of, like I mentioned, a couple of fun little tools that I added in, but they're not totally necessary. Not something I've used in other websites generally, but I thought they might be kind of interesting for this one, make it stand out. So, anyhow, we have the image up here. We have the currently enrolling, which would take you to, I think, the admissions page once we're all up and running. Right now, it won't because it's a subdomain. So you don't have to worry about that. Once it's all set, it would take you directly to that. We have the different categories. I just played around with them a little bit from the other page because it seemed like these three were on sort of one page under programs, and it made a little bit more sense to separate them. But besides that, it's mostly the same. As far as the home page and the stuff that it does, it's a little unique and different. It has the scrolling images, so this one will it has an auto scroll, which it might have already sort of finished at this point. And it stops scrolling when you hover. You click on that. If you click on it, then it goes to the news page. This one goes to the who we are. So the ones that are, I did news, and then the ones that are kind of buried in here as those categories that the pictures go to. And the pictures can be changed out. I use the ones that sort of fit the portrait format the best out of the ones that I saw. But it's one of those where if you see something that you want that's different, it's not very difficult to switch those out, and you just sort of let me know. As far as the header, I use this thing called Headerlicious, which makes the words kind of pop out as you hover over them, which I thought was cool. But again, it's not something I normally would use, so if you think that makes it look unique and fun, then we'll go with that. It's just you don't have a whole lot of space, like as far as you can't say all of New Leaf School for Change, and then I ended up using a different um, word choice down here. So it's sort of up to you if you want to change some of that around. But I just went with kind of what you had on the other website, and also with the amount of space that I had. Let's see. We have this is the mission statement. Now this one you can't change as easily, so it's sort of on the main page. We do have a pop-up of the calendar that you sent me. In mobile, it looks perfect. In this, it looks a little scrunched when it pops up, but the calendar is on two of the other sub pages too. And then we'll have the modules at the bottom, and then the top. So that's mainly the main page, except for one extra thing that's kind of interesting. If you click on, let's say this, now we have some leaves sort of floating around. I thought it was kind of fun and interesting. You can chase them, and it's just a little added thing. Most people click once or twice on the main page, so if even if you were to do it again and again, there's just a few floating. I didn't. You can actually build websites where these things are floating all around the whole time, which I thought was kind of annoying. But it's interesting this way. And then if you just hit the reset or hit home, then there's nothing again. So it's kind of a choice if you want to have that on there. I mean, kids might get kind of crazy about it and just start doing this kind of thing, and then chasing them all around. And I don't know if that's if you go to the web page a lot, like my wife with her school, if she had her students all go to the home page and it had something like this on it, the kids would probably be doing that for 10 minutes for no reason instead of their work. So that's why I don't tend to use this. But it could draw attention to it when people first show up to the page and let's say they go to the admissions, suddenly there's these leafs popping. They're not. It's not on any of the other pages, just the home page. And again, I can turn it off. It's just a click of a button. So let me know on that one. Again, it was sort of an interesting attempt at that, and be able to bring the leaf in there. My daughter forced me to do that because I had just had some bubbles sort of going around the page, and she's like, "Can't you do the leaf?" So anyhow, this is the admissions page. I did add the Facebook thing, so we'll just go with that. It didn't take me all that much. Yours seemed to load just fine, so we'll just stick with what we had as far as price, and the Facebook will be embedded as long as the component works. You will just need to add the information. If you want a contact form, we'll have to change things a little bit, but right now it's just the contact info and whatever else. I don't remember if you had a form or not on the other page. The only problem with forms is that sometimes, and I use them a lot, but sometimes they get stuck, like they don't get updated, and then they're not sending out the forms. And so half of my clients don't want them, partially because of that. I just went to a major website in Jacksonville. Because my alarm system, I don't use it, but I wanted to be able to disable it. And SafeLink, their form does not work. So that's a major local business that probably does not know that their form doesn't work. And, so it's one of those things that's kind of, I would still go with old school info on here. If you want the form, then I'll add it. And we'll sort of reconfigure this page a little bit. But you will have the Facebook feed. I kind of just put it on a lot of the pages for now. We can always turn it off on any page that you don't want it, but it's kind of nice to see what's going on the various pages. So it does take a second to load, so that's the only issue and why you might decide against it, but it does work well on this page too. The only thing is, if we change the Facebook on a page, then that changes like where this image goes and where all these words go, so that kind of changes the setup of some of the pages. But this is basically what you had. Now there was a separate mission statement. This one is going to be a module that you can edit, so I'll show you how to do that in a second. But you do have kind of two different mission statements. The one on the home page I kind of have to control unless you want them to be the same mission statement, which kind of makes sense, but it wasn't that way, so I didn't do it. And then I can just make the one here also show up on the main page, and then you would just edit it from this page. The gallery is just what was in the old gallery, so I use the same photos. Now I'll show you how to upload more photos and delete photos too as you go. You might, if they're a little bit older, you might decide that you're going to delete them. It's pretty similar to the gallery I assume that you had. You're just going to click through and the photos show up. Looks like there's a thing at the bottom that lets you choose which ones. So, and again, I was just sort of basing what was on the other page, or in some cases it might have been just what was on the website. So you're maybe going to want to go through and edit that a bit. And also it has Facebook, so if you do photos in Facebook, it'll show up on the page next to it. The parent resources, that was lots of links and things, I think. So you have that ability to put that in. I also put the calendar at the bottom of that page, as well as the news page, so you can see that the item you added is here, and you just direct people to that. Like I said, it's also a pop-up on the main page. And this is the news category, so this will be the 20 latest news articles will be on there alongside the Facebook, and if you're just putting little updates on Facebook, then that'll show up here too, so if people click on news, they can see what's going on right there. So that's kind of nice to have both of those in the same place. Alright, so now I'm going to go to the edit screen. When you get to the web page, you'll go to the login. I have to publish it somewhere, so I just put it under the menu item that had the most submenu items. And then once you're logged in, and I'll give you the credentials, after you sort of choose what you want to have as your login, you'll have these a different menu, and you can see this is in Firefox. The pictures here are a little different. There's 5 that show up on Firefox and only 4 for some reason, even though it's set to 5 on Chrome. So it looks slightly different, but it's the same page with the same animations and things going on. You can do the submit an article, but I set up my websites to be a little simpler than that in some way, because you have to choose the category and things like that. So we'll go through mostly how you're going to do your articles. So let's just go to the who we are page. If you're logged in and you're at the who we are page and you want to change something, you just go to edit, and you're going to see it as if it's a Word document or something, and you can just get in there, start typing something, and you'd have to be a little bit careful with the images and where they go and things like that. Right now I have them all set to a certain percentage, and you can see that if you click on the image and then edit the image, 40% in both directions, and that makes it so that they all line up, at least in general. They're maybe slightly off because of the sizing. But once you edit, you just go down to save, and it'll save what you changed. The only thing you have to remember is to always do something at the bottom, because if you don't save it, you don't cancel it, then it's checked out, and then that becomes confusing, especially if you have any other users. If it's just you, probably won't matter much, because it'll just be you logged in overwriting what you've done already. But it's a safety thing as far as having 2 people edit the same article at the same time. You don't really want that, so one person can check it out at a time. As far as these other ones, I think the course offerings ends up being, these are all separate articles, which seem to be what was on the other web page, even though I'm not sure how the layout was initially set up, but it works best on this page to just have them as 3 separate articles, and you edit each one individually. It's not the simplest way to set it up, but it was the most like what had been done. Now this one is an article that you can edit, and a module that you can edit. Now modules they show up a little differently on the page. Main thing is the save stuff is on top, and if you don't want this mission statement, you can always unpublish it. If you trash it, then you can't get to it again without going in the administrator backend. So like any article, you can unpublish, and it'll just sort of show up as an unpublished article to you, but no one else will see it. So you kind of have a couple choices there. Just if you do trash anything, then you either have to go to this site administrator thing or ask me to get it out of the trash, because you won't see it anymore. But here you would edit the module just like an article, and then the only difference again is you save it on the top, and then it goes, it says it's saved. So then it goes to this position here, and the changes happen in here. So it's basically the same. The reason why you do it differently is just because the menu points to this article, and then you can add a module sort of at the bottom as a separate sort of article almost. Again, under admissions, it would just be here you change it. You can't. Oh, I do have these. I forgot to mention these modules, which were kind of on the other page as, I think, separate articles, honestly. But I just put them in as modules, which I think works better here. You can edit each one individually if you want to change some of the wording, sizing. The images weren't all the same aspect ratio and that kind of thing. So if you have any desire to change that stuff, you can. It's all right there. And the map. The only thing to watch out for with the map is if you are editing the admissions article, the map is here. It doesn't show up as anything, and some people will just delete that because they don't know what it is. but it's in the code, which is here. And if you're going to embed, like if you go to YouTube and you want to embed a video, you're going to do that. You're going to switch from editor to code. You get that embed code, which will look like this in iframe. And then you paste that in here, and then it'll show up here. So this is the HTML code. This is just the editor that looks like Word and ends up creating the HTML code. So that's kind of the basics of that. It's fairly simple, but you can't just paste a YouTube embed code right here. You have to put it here, and then it'll pop up there. All right, so that's it for admissions. Again, that's one, if we change it, we can put a contact page, but then that'll change what's here. Maybe we can put a module in, link out to something as far as contacts. I'm not sure how you want to set things up with that Google form to fill out or whatever it might be. Now the gallery, technically you can edit the gallery from anywhere. I'm going to show you this. Now it's kind of it's a system that points to a gallery. So it's not like it's the gallery right here. The gallery is actually in the site administrator, which I don't want you to have to mess with. So therefore, we put it out here, and basically you have a folder in your photos area called newleaf, and you just surround it with this code, this short code, and it's a short code because it can go in the editor. It doesn't have to go in this code here, and then that basically points to that folder. So for example, if you wanted to create a new gallery, let's say programs, because you have that folder set up, you would just type gallery programs, and then we make sure that we say stop gallery after that. And if we save that, actually I don't know if you can do two galleries at the same, I guess you can, because that's the programs down there. So that's as simple as it is to put a new gallery in. However, you do have to have a folder for that gallery, and that's the part that I'll show you right here. So you're going to click on the little image, and now I'm in a folder, so we're going to want to just go to the home here. You create a new folder, name it whatever you want, and then you'll put images in there. So let's say we've created the new folder, it's newleaf. You go to upload, and you can just drop the files here. Make sure you hit the upload button afterwards. I have some clients that think that once it's in there in this drop files area that it's there, and so I had to explain that you also have to make sure that you click that. But so there we have an image that we use somewhere else in the site. See, now it's sort of there, and some people just think it's already there, but you gotta go to upload. Now it's in there, and we're not going to hit insert. So that's the only thing. This is the image manager is made for the article, but we're just using it to create a folder and put photos in, and then direct our separate component to the folder and make the gallery. So we're not going to insert it or anything. We're just going to cancel. It's uploaded. It's there. So again, you can do that from any article. You don't have to do it from the gallery article. And in fact, you just want to make sure you don't, and there it shows up. Make sure that you don't end up deleting, the short code that's on here, or adding a bunch of other pictures that don't make any sense in that, with there being a photo gallery. All right, so again, it's a simple photo gallery, and there's nothing too complicated. It's just the means by which you get it here. It's a sort of a backward step from what most people expect, I guess, is really what it ends up being. There is a button to put the gallery in, but that has lots of options. I think that the way it looks right now is just fine, so I would just go with the whole short code. You got your gallery, it shows up, people can look at the pictures, and I think I guess you can, yeah, it just makes it bigger if it is a bigger picture. Not all these are. So it should work fine for most of what you would do. And again, if you want to do separate galleries, let's say under news, you want to write an article that's also a gallery, then you would just use that same shortcode, direct it to one of the folders, and there you have an image gallery in a news article, which is perfectly legitimate. You could even link to it from the top of this article, because remember, this one you can edit. So you could say up on top here, you know, link to this other gallery, and then put the hyperlink to that spot on the website. You know, so you have some options with that without changing this actual gallery. The parent resources, like I said, was just one article. To edit, you can do subheadings. It's got the calendar. It looks real nice and big in there. And remember that the calendar is not edited from here. Even if you're logged into Google, well, maybe actually if you're logged in, you probably can, but I can't because I don't have permissions on this. But it's also embedded, so it might not work to just add something in here. But you just add it on your calendar, it shows up here. So that's fairly simple. We were talking about the resources using Google Docs. So basically, I had that set up too. You're in Google Docs. If you want, you can share it. You can get the shareable link, so that's one way to do it. It just copies the link and it's shareable. I think people have to be logged into Google for that, so I've had students that had some issues with it. But you can also go to the share, go to advanced, and if you make it public on the web, then everybody can get to it all the time, no matter what. And then you would save that, and then you'd copy this link up here. Right, so that's going to be your link. And now we want that's your old site. Can't see my tabs up on top. So here we would go to edit, and you highlight something, use the little chain, put your link in the URL up here. Usually I just target in a new window, but it doesn't really matter, especially for Google. And now you have the link to that Google document. And remember, the coolest part about this is when you change the Google document, the link stays the same. The website is automatically updated, basically. You don't have to worry about putting a new PDF on the website for next year. So next year, 10 years from now, it's the same link. You're just changing it in your Google Docs. So you're changing it in here, and that updates what you have on the website. Very simple that way. So that's why I really push for folks using that. Oh, now we went back to the other browser. That's right, I gotta be here. So I'm gonna cancel this because you don't need a link to my novel. But that's how you would save it. It would become a link right here, and then people would go, it would open in the new link. And again, you're gonna have to do that. I didn't upload all the PDFs and all that kind of stuff from the other website because if you're going to put it on Google Docs, it should be in your Google Docs so that you have access to them, you know where they all are, and then you link to them the way that I just did. The news is very simple, and that's the way I like to do sections that should be updated a lot. You click the new button at the bottom, you give it a title. You don't have to change the category or anything. You type something, you save it, and there's your new article. It shows up on top because it's the newest thing, and it's updated. Now the website's updated a little bit. So very short news snippets, like what you might put on Facebook. And in fact, the best way to use Facebook, if you have something a little bit longer, is to link something Facebook onto your website, so then people that find it on Facebook are also going to your website. But you can use them in conjunction with each other, and you don't have to link out. And then I'll show you here, if you don't want something on the website anymore, you go to publishing, and I'll change this to trashed because we don't need it at all. You save that, and now it's gone. If I would have just gone to unpublished, now I would still see it, but people that are not logged in, which is everybody else on your website, would not see it. And let's see if there was anything else. You can log out here when you're done. The site settings, you might want to mess with those a little bit. I put in some basic meta keywords, but you can have quite a few more, and you can take things out that you don't think make sense. Right there. So you want to have a decent set of keywords. Your current site doesn't have any. You had a meta description, and then I just added Jacksonville metro area on there, but I don't know if that's what you want either. But just go ahead and change those around if you want to, and save that afterwards. And then when you're all done, you can log out just to see that it looks like this for everyone else, and then again you're going to log in here. I have it set to keep you logged in for quite some time, so it's you have some time to write and whatever else. You don't have to log out. It's just you do have that extra menu. It's up to you. All right, this is a fairly long tutorial, but it covered just about everything that you will need for the website, and hopefully it all works out. So like I said, this is a little bit small in the desktop, but on a phone it's perfect. It fills the screen, and here it works. I mean, you have something in there, you click on it, and but we have the links out. Newleaf Foundation, these are the categories that we discussed, and we can change those too. I just hate to do it way too much, and you pared them down pretty well. And I think it should work just fine the way it is, but if you come up with something else, I want to make sure that you're happy with this. I think it's a really cool site, and you're going to like it, how easy it is to use and everything. So I want you to also like everything about how it looks and all that stuff too. So let me know, and I'll need to just set up an account for you, and then we'll need to switch it over so that we're no longer going to this site, that we're going to the new one. Alright, I guess that's about it for now. I'm sure there's going to be some other questions along the way. They're usually something that I forget when I'm just sort of meandering around the website. But that's what we got so far. Thanks.